The mind is the first territory that must be understood, because everything that follows is shaped there. Before actions appear, before words are spoken, before habits form, a thought has already taken root. Most people live their entire lives without realizing that they are not directing this process. They assume the mind is who they are, not something they use. Because of this confusion, they obey every impulse, every fear, every doubt, as if it were truth. This is how the mind quietly becomes a master instead of a tool. An undisciplined mind reacts before it observes. It chases pleasure and runs from discomfort. It magnifies small problems and weakens resolve. One negative thought appears, and suddenly it becomes a story, then an identity. I am not capable. I always fail. This is just who I am. These are not facts. They are repeated thoughts that were never questioned. When the mind is left unchecked, it creates limitations and then convinces you they are permanent. To master the mind does not mean to silence it completely. It means to see it clearly. Awareness is the first step. When you notice a thought instead of immediately believing it, distance is created. In that distance, choice is born. You begin to realize that you are not your anger, not your fear, not your doubt. You are the one who observes them. This realization alone weakens their control. The mind seeks comfort because comfort feels safe. But safety and growth do not exist in the same space. A mind that is never challenged becomes fragile. The smallest obstacle feels overwhelming. This is why discipline is essential. Discipline trains the mind to stay steady under pressure. It teaches the mind that discomfort is survivable, temporary, and often necessary. Each time you do something difficult by choice, the mind learns resilience. Without mastery, the mind constantly pulls you into the past or pushes you into the future. Regret and anxiety become permanent companions. Energy is wasted replaying what cannot be changed or worrying about what has not yet happened. The present moment, where power actually exists, is ignored. A mastered mind returns to now. It focuses on what can be done, not what should have been. Many people believe their problem is lack of motivation. In reality, it is lack of control. Motivation is emotional and unstable. It comes and goes. Control is built through practice. Simple practices, repeated daily, reshape the mind. Waking up when you said you would. Completing tasks, even when enthusiasm is low. Choosing silence instead of reaction. These moments seem small, but they rewire authority. The mind learns that it does not decide everything. When the mind is not mastered, external circumstances dominate internal state. Praise creates arrogance. Criticism creates collapse. Success leads to attachment. Failure leads to self-hate. A mastered mind remains centered. It understands that outcomes change, but character must remain steady. This steadiness is not coldness. It is clarity. Emotions are felt fully, but they are not allowed to dictate behavior. Fear loses its grip when it is faced repeatedly. Each avoided fear grows stronger. Each confronted fear shrinks. The mind learns from experience, not intention. Telling yourself to be strong does nothing. Acting despite fear teaches strength directly. Over time, confidence is built not from positive thinking, but from evidence. Evidence that you can endure, adapt, and continue. Mastery of the mind is not a destination. It is a daily practice. Some days the mind will resist more strongly. Old patterns will try to return. This does not mean failure. It means training is working. Resistance appears when change is happening. The key is consistency, not perfection. Returning again and again to awareness, to discipline, to responsibility. When you master your mind, you reclaim your energy. Decisions become clearer. Actions become intentional. Life stops feeling like something that happens to you and starts feeling like something you participate in consciously. The mind no longer pulls you in every direction. It follows, it serves, It supports the path you choose. Most people misunderstand discipline because they associate it with restriction, suffering, and loss. They see it as something imposed from the outside, a force that takes away pleasure and replaces it with pressure. Because of this belief, they resist discipline and chase freedom in comfort, choice, and indulgence. Yet the irony is clear. The more they avoid discipline, the more trapped they become. Their moods control them, their habits dictate their days, and their impulses decide their future. What they call freedom is often nothing more than unconscious slavery. True discipline does not cage you. It releases you. It removes the constant inner conflict of indecision. When you know what must be done and you do it without negotiation, mental noise fades. Energy that was once wasted on excuses and delay becomes available for growth. Discipline simplifies life by reducing unnecessary choices. The mind no longer argues, it follows structure, and within that structure, calm appears. Without discipline, the mind seeks immediate reward. It avoids effort and exaggerates discomfort. Small tasks feel heavy, responsibilities feel unfair. Over time, this avoidance creates anxiety because deep down you know you are capable of more. Guilt accumulates, not from failure but from self-betrayal. Discipline ends this cycle. Each disciplined action restores trust with yourself. When you keep your word to yourself, confidence grows quietly. Freedom is not the absence of rules. It is the ability to act in alignment with your values, regardless of circumstance. A disciplined person can choose rest without guilt and effort without resistance. They are not driven by emotion alone. They are guided by intention. This is why discipline brings peace. It protects you from being controlled by fleeting feelings that change hour by hour. The body is often the gateway to understanding this truth. Training the body through consistent movement, controlled breathing, and endurance teaches the nervous system stability. When the body learns to remain steady under strain, the mind follows. Discipline in physical practice translates into mental resilience. You realize that discomfort is not dangerous. It is information. It signals growth, adaptation, strengthening. Many believe discipline removes joy, but in reality, it refines it. Pleasure without control quickly loses meaning. It becomes dull and repetitive. Discipline sharpens appreciation. When effort precedes reward, satisfaction deepens. You enjoy rest more when you have earned it. You enjoy silence more when your days are purposeful. Discipline restores balance between effort and recovery. Resistance to discipline often comes from fear of losing identity. Habits, even destructive ones, feel familiar. Familiarity creates comfort. Discipline threatens discomfort by demanding change. But growth always requires leaving the known behind. The mind protests, not because discipline is harmful, but because it disrupts patterns it has grown attached to. Structure creates space. When your day has intention, time feels expansive. When your life has routine, chaos decreases. Discipline is not rigidity. It is flexibility built on a stable foundation. It allows you to adapt without collapsing. It gives you the strength to bend without breaking. Those who live without discipline are constantly negotiating with themselves. Every task becomes a debate. This inner friction drains energy. A disciplined mind removes the argument. It acts, then adjusts. This efficiency creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates freedom. Discipline also protects you from external control. When you cannot control yourself, others will influence you easily. Trends, opinions, praise, and criticism shape your behavior. A disciplined individual listens, observes, and decides independently. Their sense of direction comes from within, not from approval. Over time, discipline becomes less about force and more about identity. You no longer act disciplined. You become disciplined. Actions align naturally because they reflect who you are. Freedom is experienced not as endless choice, but as inner stability, clarity, and self-respect. This is why discipline is not the opposite of freedom. Comfort feels harmless because it arrives quietly. It does not announce itself as danger. It presents itself as rest, as ease, as reward. Over time, it becomes a habit rather than a choice. When comfort is constantly chosen, the mind and body adapt downward. Effort feels heavier. Resistance feels unbearable. What once required discipline now feels impossible. This is how comfort slowly weakens without being noticed. The human system is designed to adapt to stress. Muscles grow through resistance. The mind sharpens through challenge. When effort is removed, these systems lose their edge. This does not happen suddenly. It happens gradually, through repeated avoidance of discomfort. Each avoided effort teaches the mind that withdrawal is safer than engagement. Over time, this belief hardens into identity. Effort is often misunderstood as struggle for the sake of suffering. In truth, effort is intentional strain applied toward growth. It is the choice to move forward despite internal resistance. This resistance is not a sign of inability. It is a signal that adaptation is taking place. When effort is applied consistently, resistance weakens. What once felt difficult becomes natural. Strength replaces hesitation. Comfort promises relief, but it often delivers stagnation. Days blend together. Ambition softens. Potential remains unused. This creates a subtle dissatisfaction that many cannot explain. They have ease yet feel restless. They have time yet feel unfulfilled. This dissatisfaction is the body and mind signaling that they are underused. Human energy is meant to be directed, not suppressed. Consistent effort creates momentum. Momentum changes perception. Tasks feel lighter, not because they are easier, but because the system is conditioned to engage. When effort becomes routine, discipline replaces motivation. You no longer wait to feel ready. You act because action is part of who you are. This consistency builds trust with yourself. Trust becomes confidence. Confidence fuels further action. The mind often exaggerates discomfort before effort begins. It imagines fatigue, failure, embarrassment. This anticipation is usually worse than the effort itself. Once action starts, the mind adjusts. Breathing steadies. Focus narrows. The body cooperates. This is why starting is often the hardest part. Avoidance strengthens fear. Action dissolves it. Effort also creates clarity. When you are engaged fully, distractions lose power. Overthinking decreases. Energy that was once scattered becomes concentrated. This focus brings satisfaction independent of outcome. You feel aligned because you are using your capacity fully. This alignment is deeply rewarding. Comfort weakens decision-making. When life is built around ease, even small challenges feel threatening. Choices are delayed. Responsibility is avoided. Over time, this avoidance creates dependency. External support replaces inner strength. Effort reverses this pattern. Each completed challenge reinforces autonomy. You learn that you can rely on yourself. The body reflects this truth clearly. Regular physical effort improves posture, breathing, and presence. These physical changes influence the mind. A strong body communicates capability to the nervous system. This communication reduces anxiety and increases resilience. Physical effort becomes a foundation for mental stability. Consistent effort does not require extremes. It requires honesty. Choosing the harder option when it aligns with growth. Finishing tasks even when enthusiasm fades. Showing up repeatedly without drama. These small acts accumulate. Over time, they shape character. Many wait for life to demand effort before responding. By then, the system is unprepared. Voluntary effort prepares you for unavoidable challenges. When pressure arrives, it feels familiar rather than overwhelming. You do not collapse, you adapt. Effort teaches patience. Results take time. Strength builds gradually. This teaches respect for process. Impatience fades because you understand that growth cannot be rushed. Each day of effort becomes meaningful regardless of immediate outcome. Comfort feels good in the moment. Effort feels meaningful over time. One weakens quietly. The other builds power steadily. Pain is often treated as something to escape, something to silence or avoid as quickly as possible. From an early age, people are conditioned to believe that discomfort means something has gone wrong. This belief shapes behavior for years. When pain appears, the instinct is to distract, numb, or retreat. Yet pain itself is not the enemy. It is a signal, a message from the body or mind asking for attention. Avoidance, not pain, is what causes long-term damage. Every form of growth carries discomfort. Physical strength is built through strain. Mental clarity is built through confronting confusion. Emotional maturity is built through facing difficult feelings without suppression. When pain is avoided, growth is delayed. The lesson remains unlearned, and life repeats the same challenges in different forms until attention is given. Avoidance provides temporary relief, but it strengthens fear. Each time discomfort is avoided, the mind learns that it is dangerous. The threshold for pain lowers. What once felt manageable now feels overwhelming. This creates fragility. Small problems become crises. The nervous system remains in a constant state of defense because it has never been trained to endure. Pain, when faced consciously, builds resilience. The body adapts. The mind learns that it can survive intensity. This learning is stored not as theory, but as experience. Experience creates confidence that no amount of reassurance can provide. You stop fearing pain because you understand it as temporary and purposeful. Many people confuse pain with suffering. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering begins when pain is resisted, judged, or given meaning beyond the moment. Thoughts like, "this should not be happening," or "this will never end," transform simple discomfort into psychological weight. When pain is allowed without resistance, it moves through more quickly. Avoidance also distorts perception. The mind begins to scan constantly for potential discomfort. Decisions are made based on what feels easiest, not what is most aligned. This leads to regret, because ease does not equal fulfillment. Fulfillment requires engagement with challenge. Avoidance narrows life. Pain expands it by demanding growth. Facing pain requires presence. You cannot escape into the past or future when discomfort is intense. You are brought fully into the moment. This presence sharpens awareness. You notice breath, sensation, thought patterns. This awareness reduces panic. Instead of being overwhelmed, you become curious. Curiosity transforms pain from threat into teacher. Pain reveals weakness, but not in a negative sense. It shows where strength has not yet been built. This information is valuable. It directs training. Without pain, blind spots remain hidden. Avoidance keeps these blind spots intact. Facing pain illuminates them. Emotional pain follows the same principle. Avoided emotions do not disappear. They settle beneath awareness and influence behavior indirectly. Anger turns into resentment. Sadness turns into numbness. Fear turns into control. When emotions are faced directly, they lose their destructive power. They are felt, understood, and released. Pain also humbles the ego. It strips away false confidence and exposes reality. This can feel threatening, but it creates honesty. Honest assessment allows real improvement. Without pain, self-deception remains comfortable. Those who learn to face pain develop inner stability. External conditions lose their ability to shake them easily. They are not fearless, but they are no longer ruled by fear. They understand that discomfort is part of the human experience, not a personal failure. Avoidance promises safety but delivers limitation. Pain challenges but also strengthens. One keeps you small. The other forces expansion. When pain is met with awareness and discipline, it becomes guidance rather than punishment. The lesson pain offers is always available. The question is whether it will be learned willingly or repeated through resistance. Most people measure themselves against others without realizing how deeply this habit weakens them. Comparison shifts attention outward and creates a false standard for worth. Someone will always appear ahead, stronger, more successful, more confident. When identity is built on comparison, satisfaction becomes impossible. The finish line keeps moving because it is not yours. Strength fades when energy is spent watching others instead of building the self. True growth is internal and personal. The only honest comparison is between who you were and who you are becoming. Yesterday represents habits, reactions, and limits that once felt normal. Today offers the opportunity to move beyond them, even slightly. This shift in focus restores control. Progress becomes measurable because it is grounded in effort rather than appearance. Being stronger than yesterday does not require dramatic change. It requires consistency. Small actions repeated daily compound into transformation. Waking up with intention. Completing what was once avoided. Responding calmly where you once reacted emotionally. These quiet improvements may go unnoticed by others, but they reshape identity from within. Comparison with others often leads to imitation rather than authenticity. You begin chasing outcomes that do not align with your nature. This creates internal conflict. Effort feels forced. Motivation fades. When growth is self-referenced, actions feel natural. Discipline becomes easier because it is aligned with personal values rather than external approval. Strength is not about dominance or recognition. It is about capacity. The capacity to remain steady under pressure. The capacity to act despite doubt. The capacity to recover after failure. These capacities are built privately through repeated challenge. They cannot be borrowed or displayed prematurely. Yesterday's self holds valuable information. It shows patterns that need adjustment. Where discipline was lacking, where fear dictated choices, where comfort replaced effort. Observing this without judgment creates clarity. Judgment freezes growth. Observation guides it. When you see yourself honestly, improvement becomes practical rather than emotional. Being stronger than yesterday also requires patience. Progress is rarely linear. Some days you will feel regression. Old habits will resurface. This does not erase growth. It tests commitment. Strength is not proven by constant success, but by return. Returning to effort after distraction. Returning to discipline after ease. Returning to awareness after reaction. External success often arrives later than internal change. The mind seeks immediate validation, but strength develops before results appear. This delay discourages those focused on comparison. Those focused on self-mastery continue because their reward is alignment, not applause. Over time, external results follow naturally because the foundation is stable. Each day presents the same question in different forms. Will you act consciously or react automatically? Will you choose effort or comfort? Will you observe your thoughts or obey them? The answers shape tomorrow's self. This makes every day meaningful. No effort is wasted because it contributes to internal structure. Strength also includes restraint, knowing when not to act, when not to speak, when to conserve energy. This restraint comes from self-awareness. It prevents unnecessary conflict and preserves focus. Being stronger does not mean being harder. It means being more controlled. The pursuit of being better than others creates tension and insecurity. The pursuit of being stronger than yesterday creates stability. Stability allows growth without pressure. Pressure distorts intention. Stability refines it. As days accumulate, identity shifts quietly. You no longer need to prove anything. You trust your process. Confidence becomes grounded rather than reactive. Challenges feel familiar rather than threatening. The path forward is simple but not easy. Show up. Apply effort. Observe honestly. Adjust consistently. Strength is built in this repetition. One day at a time, everything you have heard comes down to one responsibility: mastery of the self. Not control of others, not domination of circumstances, not chasing recognition, but the quiet, disciplined work of shaping your inner world. Your mind, when left unmanaged, will seek comfort, avoid pain, fear silence, and compare endlessly. When trained, it becomes steady, focused, resilient, and clear. This training is not dramatic. It is built through daily choices that seem small but accumulate power over time. Discipline frees you from emotional chaos. Silence reconnects you with truth. Effort strengthens what comfort weakens. Pain teaches what avoidance hides. Growth becomes real when comparison ends and self-awareness begins. Each principle supports the other. Together, they form a path that does not depend on motivation, approval, or ideal conditions. It depends only on consistencies. You do not need to change everything at once. You need to change something, then return tomorrow and change it again. This is how identity shifts. This is how weakness is replaced with capability. Not through force, but through persistence. Life will continue to apply pressure. Challenges will not stop. But pressure no longer needs to break you. It can shape you. When the mind is disciplined, silence is welcomed, effort is chosen, pain is faced, and growth becomes inevitable. The journey is internal, but its effects reach every part of life. Relationships stabilize. Decisions clarify. Confidence deepens. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop waiting and start moving. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming capable of standing steady, capable of choosing effort, capable of returning to discipline again and again. When you commit to mastering yourself, nothing external needs to change for everything to change.